Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Bowtie Movie Lounge. I'm your host, Jacob Strupek. Now, we have a legend in the building, ladies and gentlemen. He has joined us in the lounge. He is a man of many talents. Not only that, he's actually a pretty good friend of mine. We met We met on Blackbird a year ago.
Oh yeah, that was quite an interesting meeting, and have to say, Jay, I was very impressed with who you were, and I'm glad that it's expanded from there.
And I really appreciate that.
No, man.
Now, everyone, you are hearing the amazing, talented voice of Codie Scott. Now, Codie, I appreciate you really coming out here, and you're an awesome presence, and can't believe you're actually here at the Bowtie Movie Lounge. How do you feel?
The fact that I'm spending time with someone that does the exact same thing I do.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We have a great life.
We do. I mean, I've only been in it for a year now. You've been in it for what, 25 years? You said?
Yeah, unfortunately, started out about 1989.
1989. You said you told me that your first production, it's the Patrick Swayze. What is it called again?
It started out as Honor Among Thieves, it later was changed to Fatherhood.
Fatherhood, that's
Yes.
right. That's right. And
Also starring Halle Berry.
oh yeah, that's right. That is right. Halle Berry.
Halle Berry.
Yeah, I need to go back and rewatch that. I watched that a long time ago, and I don't even remember. I was young.
It's like pulling teeth, but I mean, it was a film that I guess he was passionate about, and maybe the script wasn't as strong as he would have liked. That
Right.
happens.
It does happen.
But it was an amazing experience for me because I actually became pretty close to Patrick, and God bless his heart.
Yeah.
He's gone. He left a lasting impression on me, and of course the industry.
He did, and I mean, honestly, the world, and I mean, you can go and talk about him today, and everyone just kind of does exactly what you said. Just they take a little moment of silence for him because he left way too early, in my opinion.
Unfortunately.
Well, man, I'm excited to talk about this movie,
Yeah,
known as
let's do
Jurassic World. Well, everyone, please sit back and relax. You're at the Bowtie Movie Lounge.
Never could. Oh, yeah, I like it.
It's either Predator or Raptor. You can't ever.
Yeah. But that's a good segue.
Jurassic World, 2015.
Yes.
I mean, the principal photography started shooting in 2014.
Yes, it did.
Just as most movies kind of start the year before usually.
Correct.
But no, what a film. I mean, an action flick that just is nonstop. I mean, carries a lot of baggage too.
Yes.
Well, not bad baggage, but it has something to live up to.
Yes.
Because the original Jurassic Park in 1993, just a classic.
Right. So this was the fourth installment?
Yes, the fourth installment.
The fourth installment.
The second and third were, they had some qualities to them that
They had their moments.
Yes, they did. Just not nearly the moments that the first one had. But no, this is a 2015 action film.
Yes.
By Colin Trevorrow.
Right.
Do you know if I'm saying his name?
I believe so.
Trevorrow?
Yeah, I think it was.
The film stars, I keep dyslexic. The film stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Irfan Khan, Ty Simpkins, and Nick Robinson, along with a few others that are sprinkled in there.
Of course.
With a $150 million budget and making $208 million opening weekend.
Yeah.
And so far, worldwide, making $1.5 billion. I mean, what a lucrative production.
Yeah, I would agree. When I first became a part of this, really didn't know where they were going to go with it. I will tell you this. I was hired with the Greens department.
Yes, that's
and
right.
We planted 1,500 royal palm trees that actually come from Florida.
Really?
And 10,000 blades of Chinese grass with a bunch of sprinkled different variations of palms to give it that tropical jungle Hawaiian feel. Because, this is actually supposed to take place somewhere
off the coast of
Costa
Rica.
Of Costa Rica.
Yeah, no, they filmed in Hawaii and where you filmed, obviously, here in New Orleans.
Right.
At the Six Flags, which I have filmed at before,
right.
which is a lot of fun to film at.
Yes, and we also used NASA for interior sets.
That's right.
And across the street, there was like a small forest that is where all the scenes for the tropical looks of the jungle.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mostly took place. They had a couple other rogue locations, but that's where the principal was done.
That is super cool.
And the compound was actually there too.
Oh, like all their kind of
where the rapways.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I saw where they built a lot of set in the Six Flags parking lot, correct?
Right.
Okay, that is super cool. That would have been awesome to see.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about what happens to all that later, but
exactly.
It was an amazing set. Like, there's some really talented people in this world.
That is super cool.
Yes.
Well, I really can't wait to hear a lot about it. But no, this film really kicked off the new Jurassic series.
Yes.
Really strong. Spoiler alert to anybody that has not seen the film. I would suggest they watch it, right?
Yeah. There were some things that were good, bad, and even a couple amazing, but overall, I was impressed with the journey that it brings you on, but there were some things that didn't quite make sense, or I didn't understand where they were trying to go with it.
Right.
But, that's what most films.
All films come with a little bit of something like, okay, I don't know why y'all did it that way, but sure, why not? Y'all tried. Y'all put in effort.
Yes.
What are your personal thoughts on the film?
Well, my personal thoughts were that I was undecided, like I just shared. It was easy predictable.
Yeah.
And maybe because I work in the business and being a screenwriter, I kind of understand the beats and the flow of the film, but there was nothing that really surprised me.
Yeah.
And then the formula, we know it from the first.
Right.
You got a creature, he stalks, and then, he kills, and now he's out, escaped on the loose.
Right.
You have the hero and the damsel, and now he's going to try to save the day.
Yeah. And then I do like how this one kind of revamps the original. I mean, it's not a T-Rex. It's something completely. It's a hybrid.
Correct.
They mentioned in the movie. It's bigger. It's badder. It's scary.
Right.
It's got more teeth. It's way more dangerous.
Yes.
Than just a regular T-Rex. And then you have like very different characters. And one thing I was going to talk about is Kathleen Kennedy. She produces a lot. She produces a lot of the Star Wars films.
Right.
And so both Kathleen Kennedy and Colin Trevorrow, they didn't want to use a lot of the original actors for coming back to play characters, because they only wanted to do that unless the characters were relevant to the story. There was only one character in this that really was relevant to the story, and that was Doctor
Who.
Yeah. So he and that was cool. He was more of a minor character.
Right. But Sam Neill was actually scripted through one of the screenplays to come back. But they just couldn't get on the right page, and then like you said, Spielberg was like, it needs to be revamped. It should be fresh. And I have this actor that is doing comedy right now, but I think he's perfect for the action hero. And they were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And this dude killed it.
Chris Pratt.
Well, killed it. You get it? Killed it. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, he's an amazing actor.
You're talking about Chris Pratt, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I love the dude. And that was also his prime.
Oh yeah, that opened the doors for what he's doing now, and he definitely is an action hero. He plays the part.
He does. I mean, This also got him kind of. People were started thinking of him like maybe he could play the next Indiana Jones.
I've heard that.
Yeah. I don't know if he should really redo like everything. Right. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Further down the road, maybe something, kind of like that. That would be cool.
And then you have Bryce
Dallas Howard, who I love her as an actress. She's phenomenal. I really do. I grew up watching The Village.
Okay.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah. She's actually in it?
Yeah, M. Night.
Oh, wow.
Young Joaquin Phoenix.
Right. Okay.
I mean, she's the daughter of the legendary Ronnie Howard. I mean, it's just, she's, if you got anybody, like, she's your gal. I mean, she's perfect.
And she learned the business in the inside and out, it seems, from her dad, because not only is she a phenomenal actress, but she knows how to hit the frames. And it's like, she's amazing.
And she has been doing directing of her own as well.
Yes, she actually did something here in New Orleans not too long ago. I'm not sure what it was that I actually worked on.
Really?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Wow. That's cool. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because, I know
in the genes.
What was it?
It's in the genes.
It is in the genes.
Yeah.
I remember she did an episode of The Mandalorian.
And yes, that's part of one of the things I heard she was directing too.
And I remember doing it, like watching it, and I was like, okay, that was actually a well-directed episode. Right. And then like all of a sudden her name popped up. I was like, wait, she did that?
Right.
That's insane. That's so cool. But no, let's see. Okay, so I forgot to give my personal thought on the film. So, okay, I'm going to be very honest with you. The first time I had watched this, I was actually really disappointed. I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it. I think it was just overhyped, and I was just like expecting something crazy, and then like I felt like some of the scenes were cheesy. But also, I rewatched it. I actually watched it today, and I was like, okay, hold up. I don't know why now I can get behind it. I just don't know what the reason was. I watched it today. I was like, the scenes weren't as cheesy as I remember, and the acting was done a lot better than I thought. There was more emotion to it than I realized.
Well, I think maybe because us being younger, we're a little rambunctious. We're a little more not patient.
Yeah.
So, being that we're in the business now, and you get schooled on how all this works, you start to, pay attention more to the tidbit things that you're not really doing in the past.
It's kind of like, how did they do that?
And I think some of it was the cheesiness. It was references to the other movies.
Right.
The scenes, the killings, all that is like a formula that they use, or even each director follows to say, oh, we got to do everything like they did, but we'll do it a little bit different. I think it needed a different edge.
And that's another thing I thought of too, is like, okay, I really appreciate how this didn't try to clone the original, but instead it took more inspiration and it kind of just blended it all together and kind of did something completely different.
Right.
While still trying to feel like actually part of the franchise.
Well, you want to have that.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I was actually, I don't know what it was, my first watch or two, back when I watched it when it came out. I actually didn't see it in theaters, but a lot of people were really hyping it up. And I watched it, and I didn't get it.
Right.
But watching today, I have a newfound appreciation and love for this film.
Yes.
For reasons I can't describe, and I don't know how.
Well, for me, I think the Raptors brought a whole different image,
Yeah.
a whole different take. So they're not the vicious, terrifying, man killers that they
Right.
were. You can see that they can be trained,
Right.
and that there are also possibly an opportunity to use them in a time of need.
Right.
So that was fresh.
It was. It was not the T-Rex that was the cool and like being used as the advertisement. It was the Velociraptors,
Yes.
which I felt was kind of helped with the freshness, the kind of new,
Right.
the restart of it.
But it also brings in the O because the first couple movies, these are looked as predators, and that the actors had to like fend for their lives.
Right.
So now they're like your friends.
Yeah. And
Somewhat.
somewhat. Yeah. And especially within this, you really, they're like unpredictable and they're just like, oh, there's something super cool about them. And I just couldn't tell because like in the old ones, we're just like, we look at them as like the main like bad dinosaur. And now in this, they're like, oh, they're like running cool with the motorcycle.
Right, yes.
Everything's just like really badass, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And it was a fresh taste, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad you had a different perspective the second time because just like anything, we get caught in our own thoughts and feelings about things, and then you go back and watch something again, and you're like, "Oh my God!" Like, why do I feel different?
There was thoughts put into it,
Yeah. So
that is very cool, and especially like you said, that really comes with us working within the industry, and just seeing like what people put themselves through, and where we can. It's almost like we can kind of spot and pick out things that really do have like a meaning, and we can tell like there was actually a lot of thought put into this.
Oh yeah.
And it's really cool to watch.
A lot of man hours.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And creativity. There's so many amazing people that work in this industry that don't get the full appreciation that they should.
Exactly. Opening question that I actually have, which applies only to you. Now, this is one of those natural things where.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, Cody, so you worked on this film.
I did. Was
it as exciting at working on it as the action sequences were in this?
Honestly, Jay, I really couldn't answer that fully because I did a lot of the prep work working greens.
Yeah.
On other films, I've worked grip, electric. I now work locations.
Right.
So I'm a mainstay on the actual sets. I did have the privilege to be a part of some of this, but I didn't even really know what I was getting myself into.
Really?
I didn't get a chance to read the script, which a lot of times I do now.
Yeah.
I was just hired to be an advanced landscaper and create the visual that the director wanted to hopefully bring the feel and the strength to, the scenes that would take place with the raptors. And
so you were really there just setting the scene.
Right.
And that's...
But there were a couple things I can share with you really quick.
Yeah.
The 4 raptors, when they're in the compound, were actually 4 guys in like yoga suits with dots on them. They had puppeteers for the heads that they would use for like blocking and for the actors to follow their head movements.
Right.
And then they actually had a front loader that they used for the head of Indominus.
Really?
Because it had to be like 40 feet up in the air.
Right, and they had to follow at least a reference
point.
Point.
So the bucket was the reference point.
That's actually super cool.
So at first I was like, what are they doing with that front loader? It's just like it's just like swerving in the air and
Right.
going up and down. And then someone, told me.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Man, what an insight that is.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm
awesome.
saying. You would never know that. But like you said, you have to have something sometimes to focus your eyes on
Right.
as an actor. So it helps.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen that
Yes.
in works too on this Amazon show that I worked on this past year, where they use something kind of like that. That's where I learned basically where reference points are, and I could
Correct.
definitely see how important that was for, let's say, Chris Pratt to see where the head was and what points to focus on.
Yes.
Next question,
Okay.
and my last, putting you on the spot here.
Oh,
Can you
shoot.
name all 4 Raptors?
Oh, let's see. I believe it was Delta,
Yep.
Blue.
Blue.
Man, I knew I should have paid attention to that.
No, it's all good. I'll
okay,
I'll
the
give you
other
this.
two.
The last 2 that you're missing are other tactical alphabets. Yeah, tactical alphabets.
Okay.
So think
okay.
A, B, C, D.
Was there Alpha?
There was not Alpha.
Let's see.
You said Delta,
Beta?
not Beta, but what's the next one?
Oh,
It's a weird one. It's an actual name.
okay. C, E,
Yeah, there's C and then there's E.
E.
Yeah, so C and E. Those are the 2.
All right, so let's see.
So you have Blue,
Blue,
Delta,
Delta.
and then
I'm drawing a blank here, IJ, so could you fill me in?
Yeah, I got you. So yeah, there's Blue, Delta, then Charlie and Echo.
Oh, Charlie and Echo.
Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot like that. I just thought that would be fun.
No, I was kind of going there, but I was like, Charlie? No, I don't think it would have been like just a name.
Yeah, it's well, yeah. That's actually the C in the tactical alphabet is Charlie. They have a bunch of weird.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why I did it, but I actually memorized the whole tactical alphabet, and I thought it was cool that they did that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but the only one that's not is Blue. I don't know why.
I believe because his skin color
has a little bit of
he just had
blue.
more like of a tinted, like bluish
Right.
skin.
And that's the main one. That's the main
Right.
raptor of them all. And I just thought it was a very different name, and
Yeah.
I thought it was cool that
Mhm.
it actually had just a different name. But next
Okay.
is the synopsis. Now, basically, as we discussed, they revamped the whole thing. 22 years after Jurassic Park closed down,
Right.
they reopen it.
Yes.
22 years later as Jurassic World. It's a theme park, kind of resembles Universal at Orlando.
There you go.
That's it. And so, but little do people know they were actually making a hybrid, which was way beyond their control. Breaks out, all hell breaks loose. Everything else just ensues. You got Owen Grady, who is a former Navy SEAL.
Correct.
And then you've got Bryce Dallas Howard's character known as Claire.
Yes.
She's pretty much the overseer of the whole island and the whole
And she does
resort.
everything by the book.
Right. Very
And
calculated.
She's all about numbers. All about
Exactly.
dollar signs.
Dollar signs,
No
numbers.
empathy, no feeling, no she could care less what happens to these creatures so long as they make money.
Right. She's a very dry character. And then
Right.
I do like that within a character.
Mhm.
But yeah, basically the rest of the synopsis, they have to track down the Indominus Rex,
Correct.
which is their hybrid. They have to put an end to it. They have to kill it. Eventually killing it with I forget what it's called. I should have written that down. The big sea monster.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm not even
sea
gonna try.
whale, let's just call it.
Yeah, sea whale shark.
Yes, there we go.
I like it. But no, you were right about her character. I do like the characters in this.
Yes.
They're very standalone.
Mm-hmm.
You have the two brothers who are Claire's nephews, actually.
Right.
And you have Owen Grady.
Yes.
All of them are their own people. I even like, what's...
Well, the young one that played Gray, I think his name's Ty.
Yeah, Ty Simpkins.
I thought he brought a lot of performance to his emotional, like you could tell like he was really upset or that he even like was frightened.
Was actually legitimately scared.
It brought a realism to it.
It did. That actor is actually, he was in a lot. Did you watch either Insidious or The Conjuring?
No, I have not had a chance.
Yeah, I haven't watched all the Conjurings. I've only watched the first. But he was actually really young in that, and those are big productions. And
wow.
And he was the lead in Insidious, but he's no stranger. He's even in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, I read that in Wikipedia, and I was like, really? Where?
Yeah, he was in Iron Man 3.
Okay.
And then, did you watch the latest one? Are you into the Marvel?
Yes. I mean, I've watched plenty of those. I've always been a Captain America.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know you're a Batman guy.
Oh, Batman too.
Yeah, for listeners, Cody here, he always on Fridays. You wear the Batman shirt.
Yes. It's just been something I've done for like the last 5 years, and people seem to get a kick out of it. So maybe we'll do something with Batman.
Oh, we're gonna have to do the new one, maybe either that one, Tim Burton, or the Batman Begins.
Oh, okay.
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure that out. We got to make that happen.
Yes.
But no, Ty Simpkins, no stranger to performing. He's even in Endgame, the newest Avengers, the Avengers Endgame. In the very end, he makes an Easter egg because of Iron Man 3. It's almost as if this kid might pick up the Iron Man mantle.
Okay.
Spoiler alerts for
all right
Avengers Endgame.
Nice.
If no one's seen Endgame, Iron Man dies, and then like you might have this kid picking up that mantle.
Wow.
So Gray, played by Ty Simpkins, might have a very, very bright future. And
okay.
I hope so, because I did notice exactly what you were saying.
Yes.
About him bringing a lot of emotion.
And then the other brother is Zach, which is Nick.
Nick Robinson.
Yes. I think his strengths were when he had to like show empathy to his, because he's just like the sidekick, he's a pain in the ass, all that kind of.
Yeah.
But he needed to make him feel secure, safe.
Right.
And in those scenes, it almost brought a tear to my eye. Like, you could see that he was really trying to share that, you're my brother, you're important.
Yeah.
I'll never leave you. I'm always going to be here for you.
Right.
So that was pretty nice.
And especially for me as a brother,
mm-hmm.
older and oldest brother at that,
right?
I did kind of, in a way, connect to him. I was like, all right, they do bring a little bit of the stereotypical teenage angst.
Of course.
Which I think is one of the things that threw me off. I was like, okay, obviously they're just going to make the teenager in this moody and just very emotional, detached from the world.
Right.
Constantly just chasing girls. Just, but in the end, he's the one that kind of has a character arc, which is something that you need in a film. And he brings that.
Right.
He brings the character arc, and I think Nick Robinson, who portrayed the character, Zach, did really well.
No, I think he did a phenomenal job.
But no, and then I will say my favorite actor in this, who did such an amazing performance, was Irfan Khan, who played, what's his name? Yeah, Maserati. The producer, basically.
Right.
The guy the owner of the whole thing. I really like him as an actor.
I thought that, they should have gave him more.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's not exploring like what is happening.
Right.
So I don't understand that.
There was definitely way more potential than they gave him.
Correct.
Because first off, I really like Irfan Khan as an actor, but I remember watching it when I first really did not like the movie. I was like, he's my favorite character in the whole movie. He has so much depth. You know, like his eyes always like showed what he was thinking, and like he was just so animated.
Correct.
And at the same time, he was cool. He was smooth, and he was just more of the grounded, very relatable character.
Right.
Or what you kind of wanted. He was basically Ian Malcolm from the original. He was almost...
I think that's where they were trying to go with it.
I think so too. The kind of darker skin, not exact, a little darker than Jeff Goldblum.
Right.
But the very suave, very smooth, very collected guy. And you're right. He was underdone.
Right. And the strong point of his character was he was more concerned of what this creature was than what the potential profits
Right.
could come from it.
Right.
And in the first one, I don't think Ian, is it Ian?
Yeah, Ian Malcolm.
Yeah, I don't feel that was his motive. He was just looking to have an amazing park with all these amazing, reptiles and species that people could enjoy, but he could also profit.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you're talking about how different both he was compared to John Hammond in the original, played by Richard Attenborough.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's actually a very interesting comparison. Is comparing Maserati to John Hammond.
Correct. Because toward the end, you see him willing to sacrifice his loss to save humanity.
And even, using his own talents as a helicopter pilot.
Yes.
And I that's one thing that I thought was cool, was the scene where basically all hell's broken loose. The aviaries, the Indominus Rex is heading to the aviary.
Right.
Which eventually leads to all the pteranodons and all the other winged dinosaurs escaping, really wreaking havoc, especially on the civilians.
Correct.
But you have Maserati, who's actually using his self. He even mentions that he's like, "Did your general ever go into battle with you?" And that was basically him just asking, like, "Am I doing above what I'm supposed to be doing normally?"
Right, because the assistant in the compound's like, shouldn't someone else be piloting the copter?
Right.
Because she's like, no, you're too important. And he's like, no, this is too important. I have to make sure this gets done.
Right.
Yeah.
And I always thought his character was the coolest.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially Irfan Khan. I'm probably butchering his name.
I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure that's probably pretty close.
Yeah.
But all the other characters, they had their high moments, but you don't really get to delve in their lives, because it's a fast-paced film, so, they get a line here, a line there. But I think overall, they did the job that needed to be done to sell the ideal, the story. And
right. You're not there for their background. You're more of there to see like who they are as a person.
Correct.
And how they're going to react to certain situations. More of like, just who they are as a person.
Right.
Not, like they give you little thing here and there, what you need to know.
Right.
Owen is a Navy SEAL veteran.
Correct.
And then Claire, she's just there. She's under a lot of stress and pressure. She's got a lot. She's coordinated. You've got these brothers who, they have a little bit of a brotherly problem of their own. They're not as close as they should be. Little things like that.
Right. And then factor that their parents are supposedly on their way to divorce, and that causes a little bit more of the stress between the two. because
Yeah.
one wants them to stay together, and the older brother's like, "Look, just get over it. It's not happening. They're moving on. You need to move on."
Yeah,
So,
it's a reality, you know.
yeah.
That was actually a question I was going to have. Well, I definitely want to talk about that part of it later.
Okay.
But no, like I was going to start. So I do want to say, like, I like the practicality of the theme park in this one. Felt like there was a little more of a practicality
Okay.
compared to the old one, where they're like, okay, if we're going to have people here, this is going to be like a tourist place.
Right.
We got to have an Oakley sunglass. We have to have sunglasses.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know, we have
right.
to have
Stuffed animals and
right. Which the original did have that, but they're like, no, we need to actually have corporations come to help kind of fund the park.
right.
We need to have a Starbucks here, all that.
Okay.
I thought that was cool, and how they were like, okay, we also want to have the gyroscopes, which
Those were amazing.
Those were cool. That was actually Steven Spielberg's idea.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I actually got to see. I didn't get to see it operate. I don't even know if it actually was
Operable.
Yeah, I mean, but they had it as a prop in one of the scenes,
Really?
and I was like, man, if that thing is like the real deal, like, oh my God, what is the future going to bring?
That's actually really cool. I'll have to show you later. I have a
Okay.
little Star Wars toy that works the same exact way.
Okay,
So it was cool. Like, that is a real thing,
right,
just maybe not to that scale entirely.
right,
But yeah, I thought those were like a really cool addition, and kind of what I was saying on the practicality of the whole park. And they were like, okay, so our dinosaur, it's growing way more than we think, so we have to build the walls higher, stuff like that.
right.
They actually thought through some of the different things, and
Yes,
I thought that was actually really cool.
yeah. I mean, it brought a different aspect to the storyline, and it gave it some more depth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think you're on point on that one.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
No, but like, what? Yeah, what do you have any like ideas, thoughts, or remarks? Like, yeah, we're basically in this part of it.
Okay, so 1 second. Yeah, I would just say that the director created a lot of twists and turns and unpredictable things that were a little bit different than we encountered
Right.
on the first couple. The problem is it's the same true and followed formula
Right.
that they've done on all the other shows. So you kind of knew what was coming. And there's several things that as I was watching the movie, like with Blue, you knew he was going to be an intricate part.
Right.
Like he had to be there at the end.
Right.
And then when the big whale shark thing, something told me it was gonna have an intricate part in this. So that's what I was saying, that being in this industry, you kind of pick up on those little things that a lot of people don't, because they're more there for the action.
Right.
They're there for the suspense. I'm like trying to read between the lines, like, okay, where's this going?
Right. Yeah, no, and like you said, you can definitely pick up on a lot of the foreshadowing that happens.
Yes.
And no, you're right. You know, there were like you said, there was a lot of parallels
Right.
that went between the old one to where, you know, you're like, oh, we've seen this before.
Right.
I know it's coming.
Yeah.
Especially, especially when you see the teeth come down. And
Right.
that's all you see. And you have like everyone just kind of wide eyed, like, it might not get them, but like it's going to get somebody.
Right.
Just like it did at first with the Indominus Rex right after they escaped.
Correct.
But especially, yeah, with that dude just kind of sitting there.
Yeah, it was kind of, a prelude to the guy in the outhouse.
Yeah.
He's sitting on the toilet, this guy's sitting on the ground.
Yeah. It was,
Yeah.
it was basically going to be the same exact shot, basically.
Right.
Where it just, instead of ripping up the little restroom,
He
like
flips
it did
over the car.
does the car.
Right.
And that, I felt like there was a little bit of an homage, but you're right. It's like we have seen this before.
Well, I mean, like I said, most directors are very appreciative of the fact that that original has allowed them to have an opportunity to share their take
Right.
on a version of this theme park rampant, um, creatures amok,
Right.
doing havoc.
Right.
But each one has brought their own unique style or finesse to the scene.
Yeah, they've left their own fingerprints. They've
But
added
they
their
want to,
seasoning.
say, okay, this was part of the original. I'm gonna stay with that same theme.
Right. Do something just a little of their own twist, just as you said.
Right.
Which I do appreciate in this. It's not identical to
Right.
everything. And that's something that I really do appreciate on this one.
Yeah.
But no, it's still had like kind of the same formula, just as you mentioned, where it's like, okay, we do see where this is going in the end. Something bigger has got to eat
Right.
the big problem, or at least they've got to escape.
And what's the reverse of this one from the original is that T-Rex is chasing Neil,
Right.
Sam Neill,
Right.
and Lauren Dern,
Mm-hmm.
and
The kids.
no,
Ian.
MrRent.com.
Oh, are you,
Jeff Goldberg.
Jeff Goldblum.
Where in
Yeah,
this
Ian.
one, Owen and Claire are trying to chase down the
They're-
Indominus.
Right.
They're trying to find it to hopefully end its reign of terror
Right.
and get it back in the compound.
Right.
So that was a twist.
I do like that twist. And
Yeah. So
So it's instead of monster on the loose, it's almost like a monster, and you basically put it like whoever you put them together, and like it's a race to end the other.
well, I think also in this because the instincts and all, it was confused.
Yeah.
It really didn't know what it was supposed to do.
Right.
So then when it kills all the brontosauruses and stuff, it doesn't know that normally it eats that stuff, but because it was in captivity and they were feeding it from a crane, it never could adapt to its behavioral habits
Right.
that it normally instinctively would grow up with
Right.
because it was caged.
Man, which I thought was pretty cool
Right.
and added a lot more, I guess, commentary with, and just kind of gave a characteristic to Owen
Right.
as like a trained professional who knows how dinosaurs work.
Right.
He knows how nature has to,
Go.
like, exactly. They have to flourish on their own to kind of see and like know how to survive a little bit, rather than just being straight brought into some like
Right.
captivity and shown, which I thought was cool.
And then
added
the
to his
other
character.
thing with that is you start to see the switch of the arc with Claire because
Right.
there's a tear because she starts sympathizing on the fact that all these animals have died on her hand.
Right.
And then, I think that also collaborates with the fact that she knows she's responsible for 2 staff members
Yeah.
to get killed
Right.
because she's trying to always up one on Owen in the beginning.
Right.
Like, I'm smarter than you. I'm, more richer than you. I'm more well-rounded than you. And then when he's trying to share with her that, look, where is this creature?
Mm-hmm.
And because you've changed its DNA and it has added these other things, maybe it's doing things that you're not aware it can do.
Right.
And she realizes at that moment, like, oh my God, like this guy is really smart. So she starts appreciating him more after the scene with the brontosauruses.
Right. And also, I thought it was cool where it shows, the humanity in her too, especially, and you mentioned where she sees the dead brontosauruses and starts sympathizing with what is being lost on her behalf. That reminds me of both her and Maserati when they send the little team out with things that are non-hurtful, non-lethal.
Right.
But then that's where they find that she ripped the tracker out.
Right.
And each one of them is being picked off one by one.
Right.
And then that's where it shows in both of their faces, like, okay, now we're actually losing men here.
Right. Lives.
We're losing lives at what? The cost of $25 million put into a reptile?
Right.
That's just going to keep killing and killing until it just wants to stop.
And then as the story progresses, you see Claire becoming the arc of Owen. She becomes more braver,
right,
more fierce.
Yeah.
She's willing to put her life on the line to
Right.
save others. So she basically becomes the female hero.
Yeah.
Because at the end, when has the torch.
Yeah. She's the heroine.
Yeah. So, she's willing to guide this, T-Rex from which is really cool. They bring that in from the original.
Right.
To hopefully, say like,
to take down the
up the odds.
Right.
Because now you have something menacing and as just as fierce as Indominus to hopefully, help turn the tide. Because the Raptors, I mean, they're quick, they're fast.
They've got their strengths, but they're really not a match.
Well, no, they're
the
small, and just one swap of the tail can end their lives.
Right.
So this was just to try to even the odds.
Right. Fighting fire with fire.
Correct.
Which that's cool, and I enjoyed that. It was kind of like, oh, this is a dinosaur that we're also familiar with. I mean, like we've all seen the original. Like this is the main attraction of that film. Now we're into some familiar territory with that one.
Yes.
But no, I really liked that. But everything was just it was laid out pretty well, I think, personally. You have so back to that first visit with the Indominus.
Okay.
You have where Claire brings Owen. First, you see the little thing where they're both bickering with each other. And then Owen's, just kind of flirting with her and she's just brushing him off. They have a little bit of a history that he asked her on a date. It didn't go well, obviously. But you get a little bit of that insight. But then the real thing is where she brings him to the enclosure for the Indominus.
Right.
And that's where, you see more of his knowledge of these animals.
Right.
And he's practical too.
Right.
You thought she was practical and logical with the numbers and everything calculated, but he's the one that's thinking outside of the box. He's not thinking in a straight line. He's like, okay, so you put a lot of things into this dinosaur. You put all the DNA of what? She's like, that's classified. He's like, okay, so you're dealing with something you don't even know? Raising questions for her, and then you're like, oh, I mean, okay. But also the scene is just real tense, and you see like, okay, so this dinosaur, it's going to get out.
Right.
It's not going to be good.
Especially when, she, like I said, she thinks she's above others. She's smarter. And then he makes one small observation and brings it to her attention. Well, what about the claw marks? And she's like, wait, the what?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, so at that moment, she's like, oh my God. Like, I thought we had this under control.
Yeah.
So then she leaves and she's, streaking, rushing to get to the compound.
Right.
I mean, to the command center. And then they tell her he's still there. She's still there.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And then that's when she's like, oh my God, we've created this thing that can camouflage.
Uh-huh.
It can change its blood temperature. because that's when
Yeah.
they're like, it's not even here.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to...
Because of the thermal cameras.
Right, they're trying to detect the warm blood. But now it's changed to code, so there's no way to pick it up.
Which I don't know how the dinosaur would have really have known.
Right.
Like, okay, they're looking at me with thermal cameras.
Right, yes.
Also, reptiles are cold-blooded, so probably would have seen... Okay, that makes more sense. It would have seen, like, the cold, blood going through, and then compared to the atmosphere around it, it probably regulated it to match. That's what it did. It matched the atmosphere around it. Oh, well.
Right.
Kind of answered my own question there.
Okay.
But what do you think on the practicality of that?
Well, what was interesting is, and maybe because the way the scene was set up, there wasn't enough time to do an option B. But when the staff member that's still alive freaks out and opens the gate, why wouldn't you try to get to the door to get yourself back up in the compound?
Right. That's true. And that, like, you saw that coming too, a mile away.
And then
you're gonna open the big door that the dinosaur can walk through instead
and then,
of a
like you
manhole.
said, like cheesy scenes or like so predictable. Obviously, the girl, Lupus, what's she was the one that the coworker wanted to date, and she's like, "No, I'm not interested."
Oh yeah.
So anyway,
I forget her name. The character.
So she screams and it's like, "Wait, he's opening the gate!" So they counter it by shutting it, and of course, what does Owen do? Like he did in the very first scene, he barely escapes getting out of the gate, but then this time, Indominus gets her foot in between and just busts out.
Right.
Breaks down the gate, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, that scene was, I think, what kind of took me out the first time. That one's kind of loaded. It's like, but after that, you won't have a movie. You won't have the movie.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So obviously, Owen's not going to get eaten because then Claire's going to save the day.
I guess so.
It could have been. That would have been a nice twist.
Yeah. Or like maybe
like an homage to her knowing that she allowed this guy to die on her dime, and now she's going to redeem that.
Yeah,
that would have been interesting.
That would have been interesting
because she had the ability to pull that off. She was a strong character.
She is a very strong character.
Yeah.
No, that's why I like. I really do like her. I did just think of like, because I never really do anything like I told you earlier with a story rewrite or insert. I'm just gonna drop something in real quick. I know we're not completely not to the categories yet.
Okay.
But like, what if like instead of like the dude opening the door, they actually made it to the manhole? I'm just saying this because it would have made it a lot less cheesy.
Right.
Like, what if the dude made it to the manhole and like it won't open and it can only be opened from the command center?
Right.
But they hit the wrong button.
Right. So it's just human errors. So they were about to do the right thing, but in panic.
They're just like pushing buttons.
Right. Like being frantic. They accidentally hit the wrong button, and now the same thing happens.
So
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think in these type of films, if you follow the same formula, but you bring just that last element that is not predictable.
Yeah.
So many films do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? Like, come on now. Because like, just to get back to that other scene where she first meets him, the end, she smells him and says, well, you might want to take a shower.
Yeah.
Because they can smell your scent. Well, it shows the ability to adapt and quick thinking that Owen has. Because when he slides under the car and he realizes, I got to do something to mask my scent. Yeah. So he cuts the gas line.
Either gas or
gas
oil.
or diesel.
Gas or oil line.
It might even be oil.
Yeah.
And he masks his scent on his body So when you see the scene of Indominus coming down and sniffing and
Yeah.
looking, it's like, oh, there's nothing here.
Which it just adds to his character, his quick thinking.
Right.
Especially as a Navy SEAL veteran.
Correct.
He's like, okay, what do I got to do? Like, I'm about to get eaten.
Right.
I've got to do something quick.
Exactly.
And then it kind of makes you like, oh man, I want to be with him, if I was in this situation,
Right.
Which is later brought on one of my favorite quotes, actually.
Yes.
but no, like, I just like that. Every now and then you get a quick little thing when, like, the insight of each character, just the way they think and handle certain situations, which in this case showed a lot of Owen's craftiness.
Right. Which is another quote that, like I said about Claire, shows her quick wit and quick thinking on her feet is when she realizes, oh, wait, we're outmanned. We need backup. And she
Right.
goes gets T-Rex.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And then, yeah, just also it does that within the character growth too, like kind of the arcs where Claire is not a good aunt. She doesn't know her nephew's ages. She's just not there. She's estranged. But it does show whenever all hell's breaking loose, and she's like, okay, where are my nephews? And she doesn't. Then she goes and calls and hears that they are in the middle of everything.
Right.
They're in the middle of the park.
Correct.
Stranded. No one else is there.
Right.
Everything is closed down. They don't even know what's happening. And obviously, like, bad things
Are about to
happen. She goes, gets the one guy she really doesn't want to, but trust. I just realized it's almost like a Princess Leia and Han Solo relationship.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, at that moment, she's like, she has to bow down to her pride.
Yeah.
And ask him for help.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. He never throws it in her face.
Yeah.
Like, because he likes her. He wants to be a part of her life. So he uses that to say, okay, well, we're going to do what we got to do to get him safe.
Right.
And again, that's like the small incidences that you don't pay attention to. That's when she's like, I could really be with this guy.
Yeah.
Like
this guy is not just out to get to me,
Right.
Because I also feel like he kind of threw some of that out. I don't know, like, you say, like, this is an opportunity for him to kind of show off. But at the same time, I think his true colors showed when he was like, okay, now I'm not worried about her. I'm thinking about getting everybody out safe. I'm trying to think about everybody else, not just be the hero and get the girl in the end.
Right.
I mean, obviously, you got to throw a bit of that in for heroism's sake,
Right.
Just because that's what heroes do, stuff
exactly.
like that. But I thought it was cool. It showed his character when he just dropped everything. Like, all right, okay, I got these two boys. That's my mission.
And then you also see him take command because when they're in the jungle and now Indominus is chasing them and she's like screaming out for her nephews. And he's like, whoa, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah.
She's like, I don't need you to be telling me. And he's like, look, if we're going to survive this, you need to understand. You keep yelling, you bringing the person to the dinner.
Right.
So this is where you're now going to start listening to me.
Right.
So then he takes command. And again, that's another, you see her look at him and like, okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, this is the kind of guy I want. Because again, she's always felt like she was the leader.
Right.
So when she first meets him, he's got the trailer and all this.
Yeah,
It's like, why would I want to be with this type of guy? He wants to live in the freaking forest and, open land.
Which I always thought he was cool for that,
No, it like I said, it fit him perfect.
It did.
To create the arc that we needed at the end to sell the story.
Right.
And then when you see him saying, now look, I'm in command. So you're gonna follow. That's when you see her give in.
Yeah.
And say to herself, you can just see it like, okay, so he could be the man of the house instead of me wearing the pants. That's how I saw it.
I like it. I like it. No,
Yeah.
that's good, and it shows both their characters too.
Right.
Where she, like you said before, she does it again, where she's just like, I'm gonna swallow my pride and let him instead of her being command. And I thought that was super cool.
Yeah,
but
it was a nice touch.
It was. Shortly after that, it does come to one of the cheesiest parts, which I think actually I do like, where the boys, the two brothers, they that their bonding moment starts happening in that same time. Their relationship as brothers is kind of taking a better turn. They make it to the original Jurassic Park headquarters, and you're like, oh, I recognize that. That's the banner that the T-Rex ripped down, and they find the goggles and stuff like that.
Right.
And what I thought was it was comical because it was so cheesy, is when they're like, hey, remember when we fixed Granddad's Malibu, right? And they just fixed the Jeep,
right,
changing a battery,
of course,
with 22-year-old gas, which, if you don't know, it doesn't work like that.
No, it's gonna lock up. I mean, come on now.
Maybe if it was electric, there's more of a chance.
Right. Yeah.
I still don't think it would work exactly like that.
Right.
But no, it showed their kind of craftiness, and they're both getting brave. They're like, okay, we've just almost got eaten by a T-Rex. We were almost killed by the big club. I forget what they're called, ankylosaurs.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. I should know. I've played this cool game where they're like, you're riding dinosaurs, and you get to learn. But they're almost killed by those.
Right.
I mean, these kids are put through a lot, just like the first one.
Of course. And an interesting tidbit: when they're in that facility, there's a staircase that is seen in the back very faintly.
Yeah.
I actually created that image. So
really?
I had to actually age the look of the staircase to make it look like 100 years old.
Wow.
The cool thing was my boss was so impressed with it. We took our group photo on the steps. That's one of my most memorable productions that I had a chance to work on because of the opportunity to do these amazing projects that no one else gets that the opportunity to do, and you'll always have that.
Yeah, and to work on Jurassic World, I mean, that's just iconic.
Yeah, but I don't know if I had mentioned this in the beginning. I knew the movie was Jurassic World,
right?
And I knew that it was connected to Jurassic Park, but because I didn't know Christopher Pratt and what he brought to the table, I wasn't even really enthused. I was just happy to have a job.
Right, yeah.
Just to work. I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm planting palm trees for dinosaurs to roam through. Well, whatever.
I love
this is cool.
That is super cool. I mean, I would love to have had that experience too. But no, I mean, why don't we talk about towards the end of the movie, the climax, and we can try to get get through the categories. What do you say?
Yeah, that sounds great. That's fine with me.
Yeah. Well, so let's see, where we left off was kind of it was the build up to the climax, right? I mean, we had just
so Owen and Claire are now hip to hip.
Yeah,
the kids are now been brought back to the hub.
Yeah,
and they've reconnected with their aunt.
Right.
And they've just went through this assault.
Right.
Of the pterodactyls and barely escaped that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And now they discover that we've got to end this.
Yeah.
So that's when Vic,
who we have not talked a lot about.
Yeah.
But
I love him.
You like him?
In fact, when I first discovered who he really was, which is Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio.
I despised that dude.
Oh, in Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, like he was like
he played oh shit, I forget the name of his character.
Well, he was just someone that kind of did what he wanted, and he didn't care about the repercussions and what it brought to the other members. And I have family that are in military. It's like,
right.
I don't want to use the word dick, but I did.
No, yeah, go for it.
But I was like, what a prick.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you're supposed to like uphold the honor, and like you could care less. You're gonna eat, the sweets and all.
Right.
And then like when he becomes demented, like he becomes like this evil. I was like
he becomes the villain of the story, basically.
Yeah, I was like, you deserve to kill yourself. Like,
yeah. Oh, you're talking about in Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't even ever care to see him again.
Really?
And then I saw him. I forgot what it was. I saw him. I think
he was in Men in Black. Did you ever?
That might have been it.
Yeah, he was the cockroach.
But I was like, wait a second, who is this guy?
Yeah.
I went back and researched, and I was like, wait, that was him?
Yeah.
And then I went on YouTube, and I watched the story how he told that he got the part, and he actually gained weight.
Really?
Because when he read the character, he was like, oh, this guy's got to be sloppy. Because, I mean, if you look at him, he's a hell of a man.
Yeah.
What is he, like 6'4", 6'5"?
I forget. I looked up a while ago how tall Vincent D'Onofrio is.
Yeah.
He is actually, if I remember correctly, he is actually a tall actor.
Yeah, like, I think he's like 220, 230 normally. Yeah. And he was like, well, this guy's got to be sloppy. He's got to be uncoordinated. I'm going to cut my head bald.
Right.
Like, and he did all this for the director, and the director was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And then when I realized he's like, this was a hard sell for me because I try to keep myself healthy. And I was like,
wow. So he
just went in depth.
So you're a big D'Onofrio fan.
Oh yeah, After that, Law and Order, I was like,
oh yeah.
This dude is remarkable.
He's been getting a lot of roles recently too, actually.
Oh yeah.
He's in the Marvel universe
right.
now.
I was gonna say I remember that too.
Yeah, I actually, as big of a Marvel fan as I am, I didn't see him in the roles, but I think it's cool that he's in that. I really know him from Men in Black.
Right.
And I recently watched Full Metal Jacket.
Right.
And I actually really liked his performance in that. Like, it's young D'Onofrio,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you just sometimes don't know. And when an actor can delve into a role to a point where you despise, you hate, you just want the worst to happen to him. And then you see him in an interview, and it's like, hey, man, how you doing? Yeah. Well, I just, I had to do it. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, that's talent.
Yeah.
Because for you to be able to get someone to really hate you.
Right.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, and then actively do it. No, he's an amazing character actor.
Oh, no.
Phenomenal.
I actually think he's better than that, but growing up in my career, because I aspired to be an actor, someone told me that the most amazing actors choose to be character actors.
Huh. I can see that.
Because the lead roles, they're always set a certain way. So you never get to explore those...
the roles. I can see that. It's a lot more fun.
Or the depth of them.
Yeah.
You don't get to be this menacing, cruel. You're always the good guy.
That's true. And then a lot of times an actor, it's either or. Character actor or just
Right.
themselves. You get all the ones that, for example, Tom Cruise and Denzel,
Right.
who they both, each role they play a part of themselves, basically,
Right.
is how I see. But no, Vincent D'Onofrio, he's done better roles than this one.
Well,
in Jurassic World, I feel like he's done much better. I feel like
I still think it was the body of work he had
Mm-hmm.
to reference to. So I kind of blame it on the script.
True.
Because
that is true.
As a somewhat villain, he was weak.
Yeah, he was a weak villain. That's why I feel like he just didn't have a lot to play with.
Right.
In this.
So, you're great actors. They read a script. Some will bark and say, "No, I'm not doing this. I'm not saying this. You got to change it." Others say, "Okay, this is what you want me to do.
Right.
I'm going to give you the best performance that I can with what I have."
Right.
And I think it just lacked the ability for him to like expand on certain aspects of the characteristics of that character.
Right.
But he couldn't.
Yeah.
They didn't want him to.
Right.
So, that's why I think it's kind of a lackluster considered performance. Because again, as a villain or an antagonist, you bring grit. You bring that evil, sadistic,
sinister.
Right.
But right. But like in this one, it just kind of felt like each character was supposed to be grounded.
Right.
Have like their own kind of characteristics. I mean, we have some very iconic characters in this, but also like the main antagonists were the dinosaurs. I feel like, more, it was mainly the Indominus, right?
Yeah.
That was the main monster. It's more of a monster movie. But like there's still somewhat of a plot, but D'Onofrio's role pushes the plot on. I feel
and
like.
I think Doctor Who.
Dr. Wu.
Yeah. I think he could have been part of the antagonist.
He was. That was actually a really interesting. I wrote that down. That was the twist between Dr. Henry Wu and Vic Hoskins.
Right.
Like, where it shows them talking to each other and like, hey, the plan's not going. Like, whoa. Right. I forgot about this part of the film. Like, there's an actual twist.
Because Doctor Wu.
Yeah, Dr. Wu.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
It's like he had a God complex.
Yeah.
So I think that's the edge that they tried to play with. That is like his whole his whole take was that he was creating species that no one else ever had.
Yeah, and he was the only one.
Like he's the only, right, exactly.
And that's what was a theme in the original is like, okay, we're flying too close to the sun. We're playing God now. We're going to kill ourselves, basically.
Between the lines.
Exactly. And so that was part of the original, and it pops into this, which I thought was super cool. But and then it keeps saying, like the main takeaway is we shouldn't be genetically modifying things, which is happening in the world. I mean, there's so many movies that are like, okay, once we start playing God, basically, like this, where we're creating things that we don't understand, which we actually talked about, and I talked about with Taylor and Alden in the last one.
Okay.
Ex Machina, which is a big theme in that, and it happens in this.
Right.
We create something, us as humans, we do something that's so bigger than we realize, and it winds up being our demise.
Well, that plays into the cultural impact that you were sharing.
Yeah.
That's something that you wanted to expound.
That is what I was going to put in. Yeah.
Right. So, like the 3D holographs, all that, you're seeing the foresight of where our future's going.
Yeah.
like, well, we see it now. I mean, you got the
It's-
VR, you know,
Yeah, VR headsets.
headsets. I mean, I've played it. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
like you really feel like you're
Now they're trying
in
to push
that-
it further.
in that environment. So this plays into the fact that, you know, we don't need all the creatures or the specimens that are here on Earth. If some die, we'll just create one similar to it or even better.
Yeah. That's what happens.
And it's like evolution. And you know, it's like how many species, I wonder, have we actually lost
Right.
because of our disdain to dominate,
Right.
to just control, take over things, and not even care what you leave in the aftermath.
Right.
It's really sad.
It is sad, and it's just, you know, it's a really good concept on, you know, what we do as humans too. You know, we try to take control of the environment way too much. We try to control things.
And I think
And
this movie kind of played on that because,
Yeah,
like Owen
exactly.
saying, look what you ended up creating that you didn't look into.
You didn't look at all the angles, and that's even
Right.
what happens with Doctor Wu when Maserati, I think is how you say his name, Maserati, he goes in, he's like, what's in her? And he's like, and he tells Doctor Wu, like, she hid from our thermal cameras. He's like, oh, that must be because we bred her with this tree frog, which
Right,
has the ability
exactly.
to adapt bodily temperatures. Yeah, he's like, really? Okay. And he was like, she also can camouflage. He's like, oh, that's because we use the DNA of a cuttlefish. And it's like, he's like, and then you see in his face, like, she can? What? Like, she
Right.
can do that? And it's like, dude, you didn't even know that, like, she could do that? And it just, like, it happens in the first one where they brought back dinosaurs.
Right.
And they were like, oh, we weren't supposed to, I guess.
Well, what plays into that is when Claire and him are sitting in the compound and he's like, she's white.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's like trying to, backtrack, like, well, like, isn't she, he's like, isn't she supposed to be gray or like,
Right.
green? Like,
She's like, do you think that's going to scare the kids? He's like, oh,
Right.
this is going to give the parents nightmares.
yeah, right.
Which I thought was that's actually one of my
Yes.
favorite quotes. Like,
Yeah,
this
that
is gonna
was
give the parents-
really cool.
But yeah, no, I mean, talk about like the ending that we all needed too. And I think we should just jump to the ending.
Sure.
That way we can get to the categories, which I'm excited for. But the ending, it was so parallel yet different than the original. I mean, you have the velociraptors attacking the Indominus Rex. We talked a little bit about it before, but I mean, like, the velociraptors attack, and it's just like, whoa, this is so cool. This
right.
new dinosaurs, two new dinosaurs that were kind of fanning over. Actually, hold up. Before we talk about that, I do want to talk a little bit more about the pursuit of the velociraptors, the pursuit of the raptors
Okay.
going after, which is the most badass scene ever.
Oh, yeah.
With Owen on the motorcycle.
Now, I'm not sure, but I happened to be there when we were putting plants along
Really?
the trail.
Ooh.
And there were 4 other motorcycles. I think they were guys in suits that would
were-
have been the reference so that they could speed up, slow down,
Whoa.
pass Owen up.
That's cool.
Because I don't think CGI could have just...
They
He
could
wouldn't
just
have had...
place them.
Yeah, well, it would have been too hard for Owen to look left, right, and then have to look back, and then
Yeah.
to act spontaneously like these things are passing me up, or I need to slow down so I can keep up with them, whatever.
Right.
So
That's actually pretty cool that they used men on motorcycles as a reference. That's
like I
cool.
said, I'm not 100% sure,
But you think so.
but they were there
Right.
with his.
That's super cool.
So when I was watching this scene, I was like, how did they do this? And I was like, oh my God, that has to be
the time that you saw.
Yeah.
Cool fact is that Chris Pratt, they gave him the motorcycle after that. Yeah.
Do you remember the scene where he's first going into the jungle? Did you see the bike kind of lose it?
Yeah, where he
I wonder if that was
actually him or
rigged? What if that would have flipped over or something? You know, I'm wondering if that was scripted.
Or maybe if he just did that.
Yeah, or he just accidentally.
I thought the same thing, actually. Where
I was like, wow.
Is Chris Pratt really? He's kind of like Tom Cruise. He can just do it.
Right.
But I've even seen behind the scenes of Tom Cruise doing something like that.
Yeah.
It's rigged.
Right.
But it was that was cool.
Yeah.
He kind of set everything up, you know.
So I was under the microscope of did he learn how to ride? Or is he an avid rider? Because they never shared any of that.
Yeah, no, they really didn't.
And he's never talked about it.
I'm going to have to look more into that.
Yeah, that would be cool. Because he looked natural.
He really did.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
Ride. He seems like the type of guy that would ride.
Yeah.
A little bit of a cowboy, you know?
There you go. Nothing wrong with being a cowboy.
Exactly. That's what I said. But no, I mean, you know, like you said before, there was a little bit of a foreshadow for the big crocodile, shark, whale shark, whatever, you know, playing part in the end with it eating a shark, which, you know, we were all scared of, which was an homage to basically Jaws, right?
Yeah, I would say that was on point.
Yeah, I do think that actually. I'm trying to remember because I remember reading something where Trevorrow didn't want to offend Spielberg. He pitched the idea of Jaws.
Oh wow!
It was here, you know, this, that.
Okay.
You know, and so he didn't want to offend him like that.
Okay.
That was funny. I did. So I noticed an actor kind of pop up in there because I know him. Mm-hmm. Do you know who Michael Papajohn is? He's does a lot of stunts.
Michael Papajohn.
He's an actor.
Okay.
But he's in there. I'm good friends with him. I need to ask him if he wants again to try to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But he's
the name rings a bell.
Yeah,
he's from here.
He's from here. He lives. Okay. He lives around. He actually was Adam Sandler. Did all of Adam Sandler's stunts in The Waterboy.
Oh wow!
And he's the guy that says put the money in the bag in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Okay.
That he winds up kicking out the window. So he pops up. So I was excited to actually see an actor that I personally know.
Yeah, look, especially from where we live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that was fun. That was fun to see him.
Right.
I didn't know if you knew him or not.
I said, I know the name. I've worked around a lot of stunt guys, but a lot of times we don't get a chance to mingle and yeah. So, it would have probably been by chance,
right?
That I would have, you know,
you probably crossed.
But
paths.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I just worked with him on another movie recently, so that was fun. What do you say we time for tidbits on production?
Sure.
Let's see. I'm going to start with this one. The part where Zara, the nanny, was killed. I just thought it was super brutal. But then upon research, you know, where she's picked up and tossed around by the pterodons and then thrown into the water and they're drowning her and doing the death roll. And then the big giant, you know, crocodile whale shark eats her. I thought it was brutal, but Trevorrow did this because it was the first female death, and he was like, "I've got to make this gigantic."
Oh, that's quite interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And then it was sad because she was planning her wedding while she was there. I was like, "Damn, this girl really had something going." So I thought that was funny. The film was basically in the works since 2001.
Yes.
That's insane to me. It was the third highest grossing film at the time of its release.
Right.
At raking in like, what was it? 208 million opening weekend, which is insane. Let's see. I just lost my place. Gyrosphere, I mentioned before, Gyrosphere is something Steven Spielberg, who produced the film, came up with. The statue of John Hammond is an homage to Sir Richard Attenborough, who passed away in 2014 and showed interest in appearing in the film.
Oh.
2.5 weeks were filmed at Six Flags in New Orleans.
Yes.
That's where I got that. Do you remember the tourist running? It's so quick. I thought it was going to be a little longer after researching this. But it's a tourist holding 2 things of margaritas. Did you notice that guy?
I don't think I did.
Okay, so think margaritas.
Right.
Who do you associate with margaritas, and who do you think that extra might have been?
You got to be kidding me.
Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett. Oh my God.
And it was him.
Wow.
Yep. And they even mentioned Margaritaville in there as a restaurant that's there.
Yeah. Well, I actually, when we were doing the dressing of like the greens around a lot of the shops and stuff, I remember seeing that.
They had Margaritaville there.
Yeah.
So I saw that. I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. But no, I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan.
Now, another cool fact is they brought a wrecking ball when like they do all the scenes with this CGI of Indominus and Rex and the Raptors, destroying the facility.
Right.
The compound. The park. They actually brought a wrecking ball.
A wrecking ball?
We created a lot of those stores.
Right.
So I was like, why don't they segue and like have like visitors come, tourists.
Yeah.
Come see it.
Oh,
they
just got
destroyed
rid of everything.
Everything, bro.
Man, that would have been nice for them to at least keep
like,
it.
How you were talking about they used the stuffed animals and all.
Right.
I remember throwing away hundreds.
Oh no.
Of these in dumpsters because they were just dirty and full.
They could have just used them. Man, that's actually
sad.
We
waste a lot of money
on that. 150 million.
Yeah. I'm just saying in general, film wastes money.
That is true.
Whatever they're trying to get across in a scene.
They just want it for the scene. And
they just want it for the scene, and then after, let's just get rid of it.
Man.
But yeah, they use a wrecking ball.
Oh man! So you got to see it all destroyed first.
Oh yeah, it was.
That's sad. Let's see. The motorcycle I mentioned before, a second ago. The motorcycle was actually given to Chris Pratt as a wrap gift. A fan theory is that the boy in the beginning of the first Jurassic Park, remember, kind of the little heavier kid, where he's like, it's a turkey. Yeah, that kid. There's a fan theory that is Owen Wilson. Yeah, I said Owen Wilson. Owen Grady.
Right.
Chris Pratt.
That's an interesting.
It's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that he just kind of, and apparently there was a lot backing up when I read it, but I didn't want to go into those crazy details. That's for another time, a whole other podcast.
Now, wasn't the original egg? Because when they're fighting and Owen and Claire and the kids, they're trying to wasn't the original
like mosquito?
Yes.
That had to be like a replica.
No, but I'm saying
they had
a
mosquito in the amber.
Yes.
Yeah. They did have that.
I think that was an homage.
Yeah.
Homage to
Yeah, it definitely was, kind of paying tribute to or kind of a tie back to where all this started,
Right.
Which is pretty interesting that they used the blood taken from the mosquito.
Right.
Which all that is behind. I mentioned before, again, Kathleen Kennedy and Colin Trevorrow did not want to bring back the original cast unless they were needed for the story. Dr. Henry Wu was the only original character that felt relevant. That was the only one. And like I said before, principal photography started April 10th, 2014. Now, was that I didn't see. It didn't say. Was that in Hawaii, or was that in New Orleans? Do you remember?
Yeah, the very beginning of it started in Hawaii.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's
In fact, I actually did a production T-shirt that shows a pterodactyl taking a palm tree into to New Orleans. That
oh man.
my boss was so impressed with the little artistic design I created that he printed them out on
Oh,
T-shirts and
man.
gave them out to all the kids.
That's pretty cool. Do you have any of those
Yeah,
still around?
actually, I'll have a picture I can show
Yeah.
you that. I might have one or two packed away that, if I find it, if you'd love to have one, I'll
Shoot,
get
I'll-
it to you.
I'll
Yeah,
take
that would
it.
be really.
I would at least like to see it. That would be awesome.
Oh no.
All right. Well, now's the part we've been waiting for, the categories.
Yes, let's do it.
You excited? All right. Now, Cody, what are your hit picks? Hit picks. I could pronounce that much better.
Let's see.
I could start with mine if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Now, I mentioned before that when I first watched it, I didn't like it.
Right.
On the last rewatch, it had a lot more heart than I realized, and a lot more emotion, a lot less cheesiness to it than I, for some reason, remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very surprised, honestly, that it had a lot. I didn't give it as much credit before, and I don't know, felt like it was way more grounded than I realized, and that was my main takeaway, is that I appreciated all the work and the thought actually put into it.
So let's see.
But yeah, no, that's basically all I had.
Yeah, that was something that I didn't really get to tap into because I was trying to figure out how that came into play. But I would seem to say that I think that the freshness of a new cast.
Yeah.
And adding the aspect of the hybrid, which we never brought into when the raptors are trying to chase it down. One of the most pivotal scenes, I thought, is when they're about to seal the deal.
Yeah.
The raptors are ready to pounce on Indominus.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Pratt and his soldiers are lined up. They're about to spray it with bullets.
Right, yeah.
And then all of a sudden they communicate with each other and Pratt's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It's part raptor.
And that's when they
and
turn.
And that's the, twist.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh shit.
It's like
now they're coming at us.
Yeah.
Coming for us. So that made an interesting, turn for the story because I don't think anybody saw that coming. That's one thing I didn't see.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
I usually figure movies out, but I knew there was going to be something suspenseful that would change the game, but I don't know why. I didn't realize that they added the raptor
which
to
was another good twist. Just
it was an amazing twist because then, it's not the climax of the movie, so something's got to happen. But I was just like, does Vic's guys come in there and try, to? I just had no clue where this was going to go.
Right.
But I knew there was going to be some failure.
Right.
And that's what we discover.
I like it.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
It is really interesting. But yeah, no, I like those hit picks. But now some nitpicks.
Yes.
You got any of those, Chief?
Now I do have a couple of those.
Awesome. Here, let's see. So you go right ahead.
I was just going to say the beginning of the movie. What is the significance of the snow And I thought it was really cool. You see the crow's foot.
Yeah, you think it's the
I
dinosaurs?
think it's the dinosaur. That was kind of cheesy.
Yeah, it was just a little. It was still kind of like, they got us.
But
You know?
I didn't even understand because they don't go more into the family.
Right.
Like, why did we need them to be in winter, and why couldn't they just,
Yeah,
be in spring, and they're still going to,
true.
like, that was the only scene that you had a winter.
That's true. I guess it was really trying to set up that, they're in a very different part of the world now,
Right.
It's like, don't forget they're below the equator.
But the
Or
main
wait, are they?
reason,
No, I can't
and
remember.
one reason I brought that up is because the snow was actually paper. It's a machine that blows paper to look like snow.
Oh, really?
And the trees in the background were actually Christmas trees that I actually put in the ground.
Oh, so
So if you look close, you can tell it looks like a spruce, or what they call the,
yeah, at least some sort of evergreen. I can't
yeah,
remember.
whatever they use for Christmas trees. Yeah, we went and bought like 75
Oh, wow.
Christmas trees, and then we had to and you only see like 3.
Yeah, I did. It did look kind of setty. I was like, they're definitely not somewhere where it's actually snowing.
But yeah, instead of bringing a machine that would create something that looks like snow, they actually use paper. We use that on Twilight too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Paper. I've seen other stuff where it's more like
But-
foam. That's what I've seen where it's almost like foam.
Yeah, well,
That's
this
interesting.
it gets in your hair, or if you breathe it, it's like,
It's like,
isn't it toxic?
yeah, it's the same with the foam
Wow.
stuff.
Yeah, I imagine so.
That's funny. I'd say my nitpicks were the shots of teeth, and then Owen constantly doing the shushing gesture, and then doing a slow turn to look back at the dinosaur. It just kept getting too old. It was real repetitive.
Right.
That's how I felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
There were just some cheesy action moments, that just felt like the original had a lot less of.
Right.
Whereas in this last rewatch, I was like, okay, it's not as, like I said, not as cheesy, but there was still just like, it was filled with like kind of a lot of like, all right, I don't know what they were thinking with that, with that direction. But yeah, that's what I have for nitpicks. You good?
Yeah. Like I said, when I was first doing research on this, I was like, I could use that for nitpicks, but it can kind of go with other categories. So I just kind of like with remarks and stuff. So
Yeah.
I just kind of
I see you just kind of place them all in. Yeah. I mean, a lot of this we probably have already talked about anyway, so it's all good. Cultural impact. I went and put how it really revamped the series, and it did give it like a fresh seasoning. I think it started off the new trilogy pretty strong. What do you say?
Yeah. I just put where we had talked about earlier about how the gene splicing, seems to be
It's actually
a pattern that we're doing now with
it's
like
relevant.
food.
Yeah.
Hybrid corn.
And then you can really, if you do some of those late night kind of YouTube watches, you can really see some eerie stuff where they're doing it with basically humans now.
Right.
But no, you're right. It's a relevant term here in modern day. Man. But yeah, you have any other cultural impacts?
And the fact that certain things, the advances that we're going into, are not always for the good.
No, not always.
And there's quite a few references with this movie that led you to believe that, like I said, we're a society that, money,
Yeah.
prominence,
And then we're constantly trying to dominate each other.
yeah, well, or just, having your own agenda
Right.
goes beyond the world or an environment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, if I can make money off of this, or this, benefits me here, I don't care what it does to you or anybody else. And
Right.
I think that was kind of like a pattern that was kind of like through the storyline.
Yeah. No, that definitely does play into it. It's a big theme
Yes.
of the whole trilogy and like the whole series overall.
Right.
Really. It's just how we are our own worst enemy, basically.
Right.
But yeah. That's all I have for cultural impact.
That's pretty much what I have too.
Besides exactly what you said, where we basically need to stop playing God and trying to recreate and make hybrids, and there's so much that goes into it about not creating things. I'm drawing a blank on other films that actually say the same thing, besides the last one that I did on the pod, Ex Machina, which is a good podcast.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
But just the fact that, sometimes trying to create or advance things too fast
Mm-hmm.
can be the demise
Exactly.
of our society, or the direction that we're trying to get to. But there's problems and issues that come along the way.
Exactly.
So
no, that's a great point. Next is questions needing answers. So I put mine. Just it's the obvious. Why was Claire running with heels? Like what was the thought behind that? It's like, okay, we get it. She's a heroine. She's got heels because she's a girl. But like, why? What's the logic behind that?
Right.
It's like it's impressive that she could do that, run away from a T-Rex in heels.
Right.
Don't you think she would want to at least take her shoes off?
Right. Mine was, so if they went on a date, where was it?
Yeah.
They never shared, and like what happened that
Oh, that's a good question.
They caused their rift.
I think you mentioned it earlier where she just, why would I want to be with this guy? The guy that shows up in board shorts to a date.
Right. So, and one of the others I had was, where was Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah. Did you see him?
No.
Oh, he was in the gyrosphere.
Oh,
yeah.
He was?
Yeah. He's on a little screen in the gyrosphere. You saw him in the research. Yeah, he's in the gyrosphere doing it's kind of like a sketch. One of his very stylistic sketches of him being like, "You're safe in the gyrosphere." Because, it can protect against a 50 caliber bullet.
I guess I just bypassed that. I was like,
yeah,
I saw it in the cast, and I was like,
yeah,
well, where was he?
He just put himself in there. But no, it was a blink and you'll miss it moment. But then one of my others was, how did the boys get the 20-year-old Jeep running?
Right.
It's not possible. But what was the thing about the parents' divorce? Like, I feel like there was something that was cut that was kind of building up to it. You mentioned earlier where it kind of drives them as characters, kind of helps them bond. I felt like there was just that one scene where it was relevant. Just like the one time where they're talking about, it's like, oh shoot, here's some odds that they're against.
So at the end, when they all reunite, do they stay together? Because it didn't. Yeah. It looked like they kind of were bonding with their children as one.
Yeah, maybe they sent the kids off that way they could have some time together.
But I agree. I mean, I didn't understand why they didn't explore that more. At least one scene where Claire realizes,
or mentions
they need me because they don't know where their family is going.
That would have been much more appreciated. I would have added that into, one of the categories later for story inputs.
Correct.
Notable acting performances. Chris Pratt did great as
Yep.
a stoic veteran.
Yep.
Just had a bromance with his dinosaurs. Really set up how being a strong character. I think Bryce Dallas Howard filled the role of an estranged aunt really well. You know, I felt like she could have been she was definitely a parallel. They're all parallels to the original
Right.
characters.
Mm-hmm.
With Laura Dern's character.
Right.
But no, I thought she did well. She had a few character arcs. But yeah, no, like I said before, my favorite performance was Irfan Khan.
Yes.
Two brothers, they did pretty good as siblings and the roles as such. What do you say?
Well, I would agree with Chris and Bryce. I think they did an amazing job of starting as a character that their characteristics and their pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sure where or what they're going to lead to,
Right.
and when the moment's right, like for Claire, I still think it's when her sister calls and like you're not even with them.
Yeah.
Like you don't even care.
Yeah.
And that's the first moment she's like, wow. Like
Yeah.
I feel so like
She
empty.
and reflects on herself.
Correct.
Which is, I always appreciate that when a character does that.
Yeah.
They sit back and they're like, "Oh wow, I'm kind of messed up.
Right.
I need to do something about it."
Right. And then the second one is when again the brontosaurus is, you see the tear,
Yeah.
and she's like, my motivation of like success and dominating, my
For business.
well, her
reasons.
job or
Yeah.
like her
For her own self.
Yeah, she realizes that there's more than just this that has to come into play when you make these type of decisions.
Right.
And then as far as Christopher Pratt, that's the only two I have is like,
Yeah.
again, I think he was perfect for the role. He brought a genuine honesty to the
Mhm.
character.
He did.
And he was a simple guy.
Yeah.
He just loved life. And he wanted to do something unique and special with these animals,
Right.
these creatures, and allow them to have an opportunity to live in our world while sharing what they were from their past world.
Right.
And then when everything goes chaotic, you see the arc of him now
Mhm.
taking control as a Navy
Exactly.
and that he knows that it's up to him to fix this,
Right.
even if it costs him his own life. But he's got to end this because there's so many other people that are losing theirs.
Right.
And
It's
that was like, wow.
it was a good dynamic. It
And then,
was a
like I said,
good
the two kids,
insight.
I think they brought a prominence to each one of the characters that they had to play.
Right.
And they worked well against each other.
Right.
Yeah.
They did, and like
Yeah,
their two roles as their brothers.
Right. And the only thing that I would disagree with is Gray. I didn't see any resemblance.
Yeah.
There was like such a disparity.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe to the mom. A little bit.
Well, maybe.
I saw with what's her Judy Greer.
Jerry Greer.
Yeah, as the mom Karen.
Right.
And the dad was he played David Wallace from The
Okay.
Office.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
did
he
you ever
was
watch-
from The Office
Yeah.
too. Oh, a veteran of The Office. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And
I wonder if
I'm-
Christopher Pratt had anything to do with that.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, he was in Parks and Rec, and so I think they even mentioned. Yeah, that was another Easter egg that I remember researching. Andy Dwyer and Parks and Rec.
Okay.
He even got like a little bit of a there was an Easter egg in that where he apparently got a text from Steven Spielberg in the show, like, "Hey, would you want to come be in Jurassic Park 4?"
Oh wow.
So that was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
But yeah, no, everyone else, like Vincent D'Onofrio, like I said, I didn't feel like it was his strongest role. There's a lot more playground for him there than there should have been. There should have been a lot more playground for him than there was.
Right. Same thing with Wu.
Yeah, I was about to say he was my next. BD Wong, I didn't feel it from him.
No.
He didn't bring it.
No.
He just felt he wasn't. I didn't feel like he was that much of an actor with it.
Yeah.
He was. I remember him being better in the first one.
Right.
Like, oh, come on, dude, you could have done a little bit better. He was in some other stuff that he did better in. I just, he didn't.
But again, you have to take into consideration that the dialogue, what's written on the page.
Yeah.
A lot of times, a director won't give you that leverage to expand on, the optional choices that you could go with.
Right.
If his mind's set with one.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you start doing that, and he's like, okay, let's do another take of that.
Right. It just, it
so
can get
you
real
switch
murky.
and he's like, nah, that's not working for me. Let's
Yeah.
go back. So a lot of times it's personal preference.
True.
So if the director has a certain feel or vision for a character,
Right.
you can't go out of your scope.
Exactly.
It's sad.
That's part of just being a director, is knowing
Right.
how to walk the fine line.
Yeah. And I think that's why some directors are better
than others.
It's not that they're not good at doing the framework and all, but when delving into a person's character and giving them tidbits of advice.
Right. And
if you try to put too much into it, you lose the respect.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, now he's controlling me.
Because the actors also have the job of being an actor, whereas the director is trying to help steer the actor how to be, work with what they have.
But again, sometimes the visual of what the director sees and the actor are 180.
Mm-hmm.
And some directors allow you to come into that space, communicate, and I go, Jacob, I like kind of what you're doing, but I also want to add this.
Try this, yeah.
Can you implement this?
Right.
And you go, oh, okay, well, he likes what I'm doing. He just wants a little of what he wants.
Yeah.
So I'll compromise.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
That's a good take. I like it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Favorite quotes. Let's see. Mine. I'm gonna list mine off.
Okay.
Mine was can't you, like, when Claire's like, can't you track them? Sniff their footprints or anything. And Owen replies with, I was with the Navy, not the Navajo.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I like that one.
That was a good one. And for me, the first one is the same scene. Claire mentions we have an attraction. Owen shrugs, like, what are you talking about? And he mentions about the instincts of, the hybrid.
Right.
Or, the creatures. And he's like, well, they like to eat.
Right.
And they, what's the second one? Sorry.
It's all good.
They have instincts to eat.
Yeah.
And hunt and mate. You can, reference to that, right?
Yeah.
And she's like,
or at least to one of those.
Right.
Yeah.
And
he's
like,
and they.
Right. And she's like, no, this is just about the animal.
Yeah.
So she was talking about the attraction. And
yeah.
He thought it was with her.
Yeah.
But that's the first time that you see that he is still attracted.
Right. He still wants to get with her.
Yeah, and he's trying to play on humor, and she's like, "Nah, I'm not buying it."
Right.
And then the other one that I really really liked is when Dr. Wu was talking to the owner,
Maserati.
Maserati, and he's asking, in reference to the characteristics of, what genes did you, implement in this species? And his quote is, "A monster is a hang on. What is that? Is a relative canary.
Right.
A cat is a monster. We're just not used to being the cat."
Right.
So,
I do like that line.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. How, or when the kids say, "We want to stay."
That was my next one.
Okay, well then you finish it.
Oh no, okay. I was just like, "Can we stay with you?"
Right.
And then Aunt Claire assumes they're talking to her. She's like, "I will
Right.
never leave your side." I'm like, "No,
Right.
him. We will be with him."
Right. Yeah, that's the
Not you,
clincher
him.
because she feels she's finally gained their confidence that they can feel safe
Mm-hmm.
in her company.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh no, we would never trust you."
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. That was awesome. That's where she also realized.
Right.
Oh, never mind. My next one was actually my last one is that's Blue. She's the beta, and Gray responds, "Who's the alpha?" So you're looking at him, kid. I just felt like that was kind of a Han Solo-esque
Yeah, and then
quote.
I expanded on that when he's like, "Watch your six."
Yeah, watch your six.
We now have a new alpha.
Oh yeah,
So
I do like that
the
one
reference to the Navy.
too. I know 6 on your back.
Yeah, that's it.
I love it. Well, the score and the soundtrack. Michael. I looked up how to say his name. Michael Giacchino. Giacchino.
Yeah,
Giacchino?
You're probably
Yeah, Giacchino.
closer than me.
I forget how it was. I don't know. I looked it up earlier. I swear, Giacchino. I think that's it. But he blessed us with the Married Life theme song from Up, which I definitely have not listened to on repeat. He did all the music for Ratatouille. He did it for the Batman.
Oh wow.
He did Rogue One.
Okay.
Star Wars, and then Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Right.
I mean, this guy, he's one of my all-time favorite composers, actually.
Yeah, he's a prodigy of
Like Hans Zimmer and
Disney.
Yeah,
Like
is.
he came from that realm.
Exactly. And I thought he did real good. Like that opening swell, I just forgot how eerie it was. And like it happens all the time. And just, you got a classic soundtrack that he just kind of spiced up a little bit and used and placed in and used the right emotions in various moments.
And then he also, which actually helped get him the job, I did some research, was he did video games. So he did like Medal of Honor.
Really?
And he did one of the first video games with, I think, Lego with the Jurassic.
Okay.
And they were like, "Oh, okay.
We're going to keep him."
And then he did some things with Star Wars, which I'm a major Star Wars. So if we ever want to do a Star Wars.
Oh, I know who to call up.
Or even Star Trek.
I like it.
Yeah. So his hero was John Williams.
Really? Which makes sense because he did the original. That's pretty cool.
And then he made an omen. Like he said something about John's thing, and John came back and said, "Well, you're not that good yet, boy." He was just playing off of him, but he was like, you still got a ways to go to get to the master.
I like it.
Like the Jedi.
Yeah,
that was fucking. That was cool.
That's hilarious.
And then the last thing that I was gonna say is, were you aware of some of the choice of names that he had for the soundtrack. So this is kind of, cheesy, kind of humorous.
We'll go for it.
So we had Owen, You Nothing, instead of Oh You Nothing.
Owen, You Nothing. I like
You Nothing. Rapture Your Heart Out.
Oh, Rapture Your Heart Out?
Our Rex is bigger than yours. And last, the park is closed.
That's cool.
So when you're listening to segments of that music during those parts of the film,
right?
Those are the references to the names.
Oh, man, I love it. That's awesome.
I was like, you got to name a song. Even if it's a lyrical. Even if it's just music. And I was like, wow, that's really bizarre. Like, kind of eerie.
Yeah.
Of how he used
the way he does it.
Yeah, that was
fun.
Pretty, no, it is fun.
Man,
but I was like, really, you couldn't have thought of something. But
I still like those. Honestly, it makes it fun and enjoyable. Yeah. And I mean, I don't typically go listen to soundtracks, but that's what you would see. You don't see those when you're actually like watching it. Well, man, I don't really have anything else. I had story rewrites or inserts, which was mainly stuff that I already talked about, like the boys not fixing the Jeep so easily. We mentioned before, like, about maybe the human error in some of these things, just playing out a little bit better, a little more realistically. Claire not running with heels. Just little things like that. But really, I don't have a whole lot else on the story rewrites. I didn't know if you had any.
No, I didn't really understand because I did a little research myself, and they didn't really talk about. Like I said, I know that Sam Neill was originally supposed to be a part of this, and could have been other performances. Finding the time to do it.
Right.
Or he read the script, and because it was supposed to be like an exploration of, allowing the dinosaurs to roam free.
Right.
And that he was going to have a team, and then they discovered that some of the dinosaurs are like rogue, that they've inherited other breeding. Generic.
Yeah, they were breeding, and then something like
humans. Genetic, mishaps or whatever, and it changes so
right.
And Steven was like, "No, I'm not wasting my time.
We got it. We can't do that." It took at least more. It took more than 10 years for them to get it right. Too.
Yeah, they said they did like 5 or 6 renditions.
Man, that's ridiculous.
And they slowly integrated the genetic splicing, and they were like, okay, I like that. The engineering of controlling like the animals, and then they were like, well, let's do that with the raptors.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of times you wouldn't realize how long it takes
to write
a story.
Exactly, and to have so many people involved in it too. It's insane.
And then, when the final product came out, I still think it lacked.
Just a bit.
In a couple areas.
It could have
so it's really hard to get like one ace.
It is. Sometimes that's why you just
A+.
That's why you should just leave something alone with just the first one,
Right.
Just leave it by itself.
Yeah.
Well, man, I don't really have anything else. I mean, that's the show.
Okay, well, the only other thing I was going to say real quick, if you wanted me, was that
go right ahead.
The protagonist, I think the character worked. First, you see that, he's brave. He's willing to put his life on the line. He's fierce.
Yeah.
He's strong. He understands the creature's behaviors, social skills. He's from the military. We later see that, he's able to take command, take control.
Right.
And smart, quick on his feet, easy to adapt to
Yeah.
situations instinctively. And because of that, it helps him gain the respect of the other people that are relying on him, Claire, the
Right.
kids. Um, um, which
Yeah.
helps lead him use the Raptors in the end to uh,
Kind of overtake such a much bigger.
well, no, to get them to reprogram their brain again to follow him
As the alpha instead
instead
of
of
when they
Vic.
revert. Yeah.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
Indominus too.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Show-
I
yeah.
couldn't read my note.
No, it's all good.
And
It's all
then
good.
just that allows him to become victorious. And I actually think that it helps drive the story. So the protagonist worked out perfect. As far as an antagonist, I just had that, like you said, Indominus is kind of part of it. The Raptors could be considered also an aspect of it.
Mhm.
And then Vic tries to become the main culprit with greed, power, advancement in his ranks within the company, the lab, and Dr. Henry.
Mhm. Right.
Kind
Kind of
it's still
kind of a triple header.
yeah,
antagonist.
because he wants to be in charge again. He feels that like he's the second coming to God.
Right.
So
It all kind of.
So with all that, I don't really think there was a true antagonist,
Yeah. It all.
and I think it because of that it kind of weakened, like I was trying to say earlier when Owen decks Vic.
Right.
Vic doesn't try to fight back.
No, he's
He
just.
tries to explain. Well, if you want to be on the news and all these people, I'm trying to save.
Right.
So then you see Owen like, all right, he comes on board even though he really doesn't want to.
Right.
He doesn't think that's the best solution.
Right.
That the antagonist works, but there's really no true one.
Yeah. There's no like distinct one, and it's just
No.
it makes for a good antagonist too. Where at least with Vix, you can kind of correlate with, I guess.
Yeah.
Man, no, what good insight you brought to the show, Cody. And
Hey man,
I really appreciate it.
well, I
this
tried
big
to do
time.
the best I could, especially for a first time. You're seasoned. I'm not.
No,
But I
that's-
look forward to even try this again and
and
try to
definitely welcome.
like fine tune some of the things and have my notes really
No, it's all
set
good.
up. But no, this was great, man. Thank you.
Dude. You did amazing, and
I appreciate
it was a
it.
true pleasure having you here.
Yeah.
Welcome to being a part of the lounge. I
Yeah.
mean, like this, you're definitely way more than welcome back.
Oh yeah. Well, I look forward to it, and I wish you coots and success. I think this is a really good format. I think it's really informative for all y'all that actually will possibly listen to this. You can gain a lot of insight and information that you're not going to find, I don't think, many places.
Mm-mm.
So please, open your ears and your podcasts to this man, Jacob. Jacob.
I really appreciate that.
No,
Cody.
this was an amazing experience. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
Likewise, brother. I really could not have done it without you, man. Well, I'm trying to figure out another movie, what to do next. I really like for people to email me, which would be at mailbag@bowtiemovielounge.com. Y'all please follow the Instagram, which is just the Bowtie Movie Lounge. Y'all keep an eye out. I'll try to be posting updates. And then you will definitely be seeing my good friend Codie Scott here. And it's gonna be fun. We're gonna do We're gonna do a Batman one.
Okay, we'll do Batman. That works for me.
I like it.
Yes.
And then that'll be just us doing all of our, especially I'll do my Will Arnett
Yeah,
impression.
I think you should. I think that works great.
I love it.
Yes.
I think we should end the podcast just like this now.
Oh, why not?
Well, thank you all for joining the Bowtie Movie Lounge. We will catch you next time. Adios.